Back under the truck, having completed the throttle body installation on top, we're now looking at the fuel tank. I need to mount a pump this way, somewhere where it will work efficiently. Now, these high pressure pumps are great at pushing fuel at high pressure, but not great at sucking it. So you either put them in your tank and get them down, a ways, or you mount them somewhere, preferably right at the bottom of your tank. But I don't want this to be the low-hanging fruit. So I think I'm going to mount it somewhere up in here, and probably do that with a piece of angle iron. Maybe something like that. That's certainly low enough that it can draw fuel at that level, and yet high enough it's not the lowest thing in the truck, and it'll be protected by the angle iron a bit. I'm actually probably going to bevel this corner just to make things deflect inward, and I have to have a filter on it, so this filter will work, and we'll probably bring it in somewhere, maybe like that, something of that nature. And I got to decide whether I want to weld this to this or whether I want to bolt it. I did drill holes in it, 5/16. So if I want to drill a hole through here, I can bolt it, so long as I don't get it so high that if I put it up here, it'd run into the tank, and then I'd have to use rib nuts, which is fine, but I think it's going to be about there. And I'll probably just bolt it. That way, if I want to move it in the future, I'll be able to unbolt it and do that without having to go through the process of cutting a bunch of welds. So I think that's where I'll put it. And then we'll figure out getting the pump mounted in the most efficient location. Getting this hooked up to it in the most efficient way possible. May end up hanging out a little bit. We'll see. But that's how we'll make it work. First thing I'm going to do is mount the angle iron in place and get that all taken care of. So I need to get a marking pen, mark through the holes, drill some holes, and all of that. So that's what we're doing. I know those are 1 inch. The tank is 1 inch above that, and I want it to be above the bottom of the tank just a little bit. Three inch. That way it's only got a lift in 2 inches at max or so. Let's do 2.5 inches. Right about there. Let me just take a quick measurement here. Let's see if I got those 2 dots in about the same place. That one's just 3 1/8 inch up. That's a much bigger dot, and it's a little bit taller, so we'll drill at the bottom of this one. More like right in that vicinity. Probably right into that fuel line right there. Wouldn't that be a good idea? Okay, I'm gonna bring a punch those, drill them. That's next. All right, let's see if we can center punch some holes and drill them and get them close to being correct. Oh, that's why I center punch, so you wouldn't walk drill. Sometimes you need to start with a smaller hole or a bigger center punch. Let's see if that works. Ready? That's halfway. I got a hole in my shirt. Little pieces of hot metal kept falling in there. Wonderful. Oh, you know what I just noticed is I have braces here behind this, and they come up to right here. They come up to right about there, actually. So these holes are not going to allow me to drill all the way through. They're going to run into that brace. Rib nut time. I knew there was a reason I had rib nuts out. All right, and that hole definitely is this way. Quite a bit. It should have been centered. So I will get the brace before I drill that hole. Put it up there, make sure that hole ends up in the right place. But I'm going to turn around and do the ones on the other side, which is identical to this one. So I won't bother showing you that and bore you with the same thing twice. Hey, if you guys aren't familiar with the rib nut tool, they're this little brass looking doodad. It's got threads down inside of it and little knurled edges. I don't know if you can see that in the dark here, but we drill a hole big enough for it to fit in and sit flush. And then you can use a tool like this to expand it and make it fit tight in that hole. And if you don't have one of those tools, you can actually thread it onto a bolt. Now I'd stack a bunch of washers on here, thread the bolt onto it, hold this one while I screwed it, and it would expand it in here. Which I've done that with a bolt a lot before, but this tool is pretty dang cheap. And you just open it up as far as you go, screw that down all the way, and then when I squeeze together, it will compress. It'll pull this down in, compressing the brass piece, and then it will stay in there. And you unscrew it then this way. Now if I thought I needed it compressed more, I could stop. I could screw it all the way down, squeeze it again. But one time usually does it pretty good. Now that brass piece is in there, so I can put whatever I want to screw into up against there. And I'll be able to screw a bolt into it. So that's how that's going to work. The pieces are drying right now that I need to go across here. I'm going to bring one over, bolt it up, and I'll see exactly where that next hole needs to be. Since this hole walked a little bit, I know that one's not center punch where it should be. But that's coming up. And then I'll drill the hole and put another rib nut in it. All right, I've got the pieces of steel that I'd cut out. I beveled the edges. I powder coated them black. And I'm gonna just set a bolt in it and see how far off I am in drilling the next hole. I definitely marked it with the intent of just drilling away, but yeah, that would have moved it. That would have put it off center, wouldn't it? We need to go about 1/8 inch from where my little mark is there. I didn't bring a new center punch down here, so I'll go get my center punch and we'll do it again. All right, that's through. So now we're going to step up to the step bit. I don't like starting with a step bit. It just, I don't know why. You can do that, just not really designed for this. There it goes, all the way through. So we should just be able to put the rib nut in and get her done. Now that we have the second rib nut in, we should just be able to move that up there and screw that right in. There we go. So that's what I'm going to do for the pump to sit on. I've got a little bit of rubber that I'm going to put down here, and the pump will sit in it somewhere in that fashion, and I will put a couple of hose clamps around here to hold it in place, and hopefully the rubber that I put under it and the fact that it's off the frame a little bit will minimize the vibration I get in the cab from this thing. So that's what I'm hoping. I'll show that to you as I get it all hooked up. I'm going to put rib nuts on the other side, get all this mounted and tightened up, and we'll keep on going. Okay, went ahead and finished the fuel line for the top end. It's not done underneath. The high pressure line is, so I'm feeding it in through here into the aces. It then passes through, and the return line is coming out here, going into my regulator where I'll set the pressure, probably about 50 pounds. They say 43 is a minimum, but I want, you know, to have a little reserve pressure there, so about 50 pounds. And then that will return through this line with the red marker on it. That's how I distinguish it. I was going to use the blue line that I accidentally ordered, but it didn't look good up here. So red line is the return until we get underneath the truck, and then I don't have enough for the red marker, so we'll switch to the blue. But when you're mounting the regulator anywhere, you're mounting anything on the firewall, be really aware of what's on the other side of the firewall, and any future plans you have. Like there's got to be a 2-inch hole here somewhere to run the wiring through, and in the future there's going to be air conditioning sitting right here, and that's got to pass, well, right here, I can't remember where. Anyway, it's going to pass through, the hoses are going to pass through right here, so I had to leave this area open. So I think this is going to work out good. I can adjust it from the side here, set my pressures. Fuel lines are good. Got to continue running them to the back where we'll do the return into the keg tanks. That's going to be fun. I'll show that to you coming up here shortly. Okay, I wanted to show you what we're doing for the return line. Now, we have a keg tank on each side, and they had a vent hole here with a tube that went up to the vent. And we're going to get rid of that and put a vent in the cap instead. So in order to get a return, we're going to use one of these setups. Supposedly you drill a hole for this, push this down in the hole, and then tighten this nut, and it should suck this aluminum up and tighten it in the hole, along with a gasket that goes on it like that. And then it has an ORB fitting that screws into the top with a 6AN on it, so I can hook up my fuel line, return line. Now, do I need this fancy? Could I just stick a hole in, you know, tube in there? Yeah, I could, because your return should only have about 3 pounds of pressure, and it shouldn't whip around or anything. And should I have an extension on this so it goes down into the liquid, into the tank, you know, long tube? Yeah, that might help. You're going to get fuel returning out of this. It's going to be falling down into the fuel that's in the tank. Vapors are going to be created. I know that. But your fuel tank is filled with vapors. It's saturated with vapors. The fuel is sloshing around in here while you're driving and moving, and vapors are coming off it. You can't stop the vapors. It doesn't, I don't care how cold it gets. 30 below zero, still got vapors coming off of gasoline. That's why it's flammable. So the vapor, it's saturated in there. No more vapor can come in there than what is there. So this fuel is just going to return as fuel to the bottom of the tank. I'm not worried about vapors. The one thing I am worried about is this leaking. So we're going to put a little Permatex on it. before we stuff it in the hole, just to make sure. But first I got to drill it, because this is a 7/16 hole. This takes a 1/2 inch hole. So I'm going to put a drill on it. I've got grease on it to hopefully catch the burrs. That's what that's for. I'm going to stuff that in there, just go one step. That'll make it a 1/2 inch, and hopefully we kept all the burrs. If not, there's a pre-filter that's going to catch them, and if not that one, there's a post filter that's going to catch them. So we're good. I hope this works. I've never done it before. Oh man, I think we did a great job of keeping anything out of there. Yeah, that looks pretty good. What you doing, Bree? All right, I gotta reach past you to get all the parts here. And to get my rig, sorry about that. Now Razzie is out here, our new shop dog. I'm gonna go get some brake cleaner and clean that off a little bit. All right, I just don't want that grease to mess up the seal any. So let's put some brake cleaner on there. I just dropped, no, Razzie. I just dropped the rubber seal, and the one thing that dog loves is to chew on rubber, so I gotta grab it. Okay, I got my seal. And this is a rounded surface, and this is a flat surface on the plug, so that's why part of the reason why I'm putting a little Permatex on it. It's on the top, you know, so I'm not super worried about it. But at the same time, I really do not want it to leak. Fuel leaks are not fun, no matter how they work out or how they leak, where they are. So that should seal it up. That's supposed to fit in a 1/2 inch hole. Is that a metric 1/2 inch or my 1/2 inch? That's a 1/2 inch hole. I drilled a 1/2 inch hole. Oh, we may have to give it a little tap tap to make it fit, maybe. Maybe. Screw that all the way down. Well, the last thing I want to do is wallow it out a bit. That's not cool. But it looks like that's maybe what it takes, so I'm gonna clean this off, go get the drill, try again. That's amazing. That is 1/2 inch. Do it a little, you know, making it bigger. Not exactly what I wanted to do. Take a chance of dumping more metal filings in there. Let's see how it fits in there now. There we go. All right. Oh, I hope this works. I hope it works. I hope it works. I hope it works. The internet's about 50-50 on whether it's going to work or not. I hope it does. I forgot to get a wrench to hold that. Not exactly a good workbench area, I guess. Got a bigger one in case I needed it. Got a little one right there. That's actually perfect. You know, I'm going to start with a wrench because I have to hold down on this as we turn. And I think I have the wrench I need right under here. Earth shake. There we go. Let's see what we can do. Turn it like that, I think. That's where I can get good access and hold it down. My goodness. Well, it turned about 2 turns and split. I'm not too sure that should have happened. Or about a half a turn quick. Going with a little more torque here. And we lost that wrench. So we'll go with this one. It's hard to turn and smash that aluminum. I thought the aluminum would actually give away a little bit more easier than that. Now it is. I'm trying to put downward pressure with my finger here. Maybe you just got to get the crush started, and then it will tighten up. Oh yeah, that felt actually like it stripped. Oh man, yeah, it's tight. Wow. That's enough. I didn't need to go as far as I did. I can see the rubber gasket is squeezing out all over. All right. Let me get a rag, clean that off and see how it looks. Yeah, we really squished that gasket out. I think that'll work though. Certainly in there good. There we go. I think that'll work. Yeah, I think that'll do it. I'm going to rotate this tank just a little bit so it's straight up, and then I'll start running lines. Show you that in a minute.